Welcome to In the Zone. I'm your host, Max Vigue, with October baseball heating up, mid-season NFL firings, and a shocking shift in the college football world. We have much to talk about. Let's get into it. The In Zone starts now. Joining me on desk today is Ashton and Gehrig Milbrandt. The division series has gotten underway, and in the National League, the two best teams have their backs against the walls. The Phillies have struggled to contain the Mets' magic and are being undermined by their slumping bats. The Dodgers, meanwhile, haven't had enough pitching time to contend with the red-hot Padres, and their superstars have much again left to be desired. Ashton, do you think either of these teams have a chance to come back?
Well, I think let's talk about the Dodgers and the Padres. The Padres are red hot right now. They have a really great team, actually.
Yes, I agree with you there.
Yeah, and the Dodgers is another great team, but I think Dodgers are gonna come back. Have a good comeback in that game. Well, my biggest upset I would probably say would be the Phillies and the Mets. I'm a Phillies fan.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't want to say it, but they suck right now because they're just standing like a statue and don't swing at the ball. They need to swing the ball, hit the ball, and they need to play well, and they need to lock in of when to hit. And Mets are crazy right now. So
yeah, do you think it's like anything about the Mets in particular as a team that might be? They have something that the Phillies might not have at the current moment?
I'm not a Mets fan, but I'm pretty sure, in my opinion, I'd probably say, like, the best player has to be Lindor. Like, I'll probably say that, Lindor is probably their best bet right now because he's the best player.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely say that's some pretty good commentary there. Gehrig, do you have anything particular to say? Do you think the Mets just have something that the Phillies don't, or do you think the Phillies are just maybe lacking something that if they're able to somehow find it, be able to pull out this with a possible victory?
No, I love how you said that. There's one thing that the Mets have that the Phillies do not. That is the undying power of Grimace. He's been with them since that slump. He started that comeback. They've been the hottest team in baseball since that first pitch. You can't walk a block in New York without seeing someone in a Grimace outfit. I'd say Mets win it tonight. Grimace is just too powerful.
And you think Grimace just has that much power?
Yeah, he's definitely got such an aura around him. You know, there's the big size himself, the big smile. Just he gets the people going, he gets the Mets going, and I think that'll take him through the National League.
In the American League, both series at the time of recording are even at 1 win apiece. In the Yankees-Royals series, neither of the team's superstars have managed to hit, with New York's Aaron Judge and Kansas City's Bobby Witt Jr. hitting a combined 1 for 17 so far. Between the Guardians and the Tigers, the big story was Detroit's surprising game, 2 victories, as Kerry Carpenter's launched a 3-run home run against baseball's best closer, Emmanuel Casey. Gehrig, what are your takeaways from both series so far, and who do you think is going to move on to the championship series?
So, to get my biases out of the way immediately, my name's Gehrig. I'm a Yankees fan. I've been watching that series a lot closer. And what I've noticed in both of those games is just the stars, as you said, have not come to hit. Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. are combined 1 for 17, you said. Yeah. And just some fun stats from the series. The Yankees are 3 for 19 with runners in the scoring position. You cannot win a series if you're hitting like that. And another fun stat that I knew Aaron Judge has had some postseason hiccups in his career so far, but you don't want to just count him out immediately. But his postseason strikeout percentage is 34.3%. Wow. That is the highest in baseball history.
Yeah.
And second behind him is the infamous Martin Maldonado at 34.2%, and his batting average is like under the legal drinking blood alcohol level. So that's not company you want to keep. I think the Yankees can get it going in Kansas City tonight. They had troubles with Seth Lugo in the regular season, but I think star power will beat Kansas City's and the Yankees will go through. And in Cleveland and Detroit, that is a pitcher's duel series. If you love pitching like I do, that is a great series to watch. Game 3 is going on as we're recording. Detroit is up 3-0 right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is right now, but that is just a fun series. I hope Detroit gets through. Yankees-Detroit will be a great ALCS.
I know it's definitely interesting to watch, like, kind of like the stalemates that are happening so far, but more in particular, how you were speaking on the Yankees. I mean, it's definitely going to be something we have to watch out for. Ashton, you got any particular takeaways from what's been happening so far with these series?
I would have to disagree with the Detroit take the cake, but I would have to pick the Guardians.
Interesting.
Honestly, I would pick the Guardians just because of, you know, Jose Ramirez, dude. Jose
Yeah.
Ramirez is insane. And that first part when 7-0 was insane. Different Kwan, a really good matchup. It's another great game to watch because what Gehrig said of the pitching
Yeah.
is really great. It's been really good. I think I like that series, but the Yankees and the Royals. My pick would definitely would have to be the Yankees, but
Yeah.
those Royals, they're a tough team to be up against. Definitely.
Yeah, I know. It seems like the Royals are kind of making a name for themselves this season. They've been a lot tougher than seasons past, I guess.
Did you see what Gehrig said about like the hitting not going very well? Well, hopefully they can get some hits.
Yeah, no, definitely. And speaking of hits, we had our first Sunday morning game of the season across the pond in London, featuring Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets facing the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. Despite the Jets only losing by 6, the score doesn't tell the tale of how the Jets struggled against this Vikings defense. Rodgers threw 3 interceptions, including a 63-yard pick, 6, that this Jets game to lose, and also turned out to be the game that lost Robert Saleh his job. This past Tuesday, Woody Johnson announced that Saleh would no longer serve as the head coach, and the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ubrich, will be the interim coach, Gehrig. Were you surprised by this move by the Jets, or was it expected?
So when I wake up, I see the notification on my phone, Robert Saleh gets fired. My first response was, huh? They've been, the word to describe the Jets season so far has been ugly. They win ugly, they lose ugly. It's just been ugly, like those helmets. And, but Robert Saleh, I think he's had a, 20-36 record. Not great. Again, pretty ugly since 2021. I'm a little confused by this firing because no NFL team to fire a coach midseason has ever made the playoffs. And the playoffs are what the Jets are striving for this season. That's why they brought Aaron Rodgers in. That's why they want to get Breece Hall going. I don't know if taking your head of your locker room out in week 6 is really the best move for that. I'm going to go this is a bad move for the Jets.
Interesting. I mean, it seems like the Vikings have already had like a pretty strong start off to the season so far. Ashton, you got any takeaways from what's been happening recently with the Jets?
Yes, definitely. But the move for that thing of the coaches is, to me, it's kind of stupid. They should have just kept the former coach. But I just want to talk about the Vikings. The Vikings are doing very well right now. They are doing very well, especially when they have Sam Darnold as their freaking quarterback. Isn't probably insane. And the wide receiver Dutton Jefferson. But the Jets, they need to get better. I'm sorry, Jets fans, but they got to get better.
You think in general that the Jets even stand a chance at going to the playoffs?
If they get Devontae Adams, but it's a big hot take, but I don't know. I like the team in the playoffs, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you think that move just in general isn't going to set them back?
In my opinion, no, because of their bad decision making.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like that's kind of a common theme with the Jets this season. But on a better note, this past Thursday night was a game to remember as Baker Mayfield led the Buccaneers into the Atlanta against Kirk Cousins, and the Falcons, were both division rivals, would need overtime to find a winner. The Falcons' offense proved to be too much for the Bucs' defense, as Cousins would go on to throw over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, taking down the Bucs and taking the division lead. Ashton, the NFC South is looking to shape up as a very competitive division. Are the Falcons the best of the bunch, or is it too early to still tell within the season?
I think it's probably too early, but I can't get started on those Buccaneers. I don't like them. Because they beat my favorite team, the Eagles. But Tampa Bay is right now is looking very well. Same with the Falcons, but I think I'd say the Falcons easily take the cake because they got some great players. They got that Cook Cousins, like obviously
Yeah.
Drake London, the running back Bijan Robinson, and the new guy Darnell Mooney. They have a pretty damn good team.
Yeah. No, definitely. Gehrig, you got anything to add on to that, or maybe any disagreements?
I thought Ashton summarized it well. This game hurt me more on a personal note because this is my girlfriend's first year doing fantasy football, and she gets Kirk O'Chainson as her quarterback. He drops 45 on my head. I lose by about 30. This game hurt me deep.
Yeah.
As any man would know, if you lose to your girlfriend in fantasy football, that's not something you want to carry around with you. And thank you, Kirk Cousins. I love you, but that's what you did to me, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of a sting to the ego, but is there anything about the game that kind of like took you out of your seat, maybe?
Just the insane amounts of passing talent on both sides. Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, two great quarterbacks. I'm going to be loving to see how this division shapes up for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely, dude. I mean, I've been seeing these games, and it's just over and over again. You're never really going to get with this season. I think that's probably the most exciting thing about NFL football this season is just the unexpectedness of how the games are going. The #1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, took on the struggling South Carolina Panthers at home and turned out to be his most efficient game yet of his young career. With over 300 passing yards and a career high of 126.2 passer rating, Gehrig, Williams is undefeated at home and has the Jags visiting town next week. Do you believe Caleb Williams can carry his success into next week, or will this be a fluke for him?
This was definitely not a fluke. Caleb Williams needed, people want to rush these quarterbacks in. They want to be elite because they were elite in college. They need the time to develop. And having the Panthers last week looking great against them, and they got the 31st ranked defense in the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into Soldier Field this week. This is going to be a big win for the Chicago Bears. And there's a lot of doubters still against Caleb Williams, my dad being one of them. He called him Jamarcus Leaf throughout the entire draft process for those two bust quarterbacks. And he will be proved wrong this weekend when we put at least 4 on the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can quote me on that.
Sounds like a lot of family vendettas going on. Ashton, you got anything to say about this recent debacle that's been going on?
Well, first of all, in my opinion, I love Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is actually one of my favorite rookies right now. But overthrowing him will be Dan Daniels. But Caleb Williams, he's got himself a shot. He's a really great quarterback. I saw the shot to sack, but I think Caleb Williams will win the Heisman or be Rookie of the Year.
Interesting.
He's a really great quarterback. And the way he was playing in the Panthers game, I thought the saw was incredible. His passing, and he got himself a team as well.
Nice. I mean, it definitely seems like the NFL season is shaping up to be something special. But what is also special is our very own Ville Sports. We'll now send it over to Payje Davis for a recap on Marauder Athletics. Payje?
Thanks, Max. This week, the Marauder football team faced off against East Stroudsburg, keeping it close in the first quarter until the Warriors poured it on and never looked back, outscoring Millersville in the final 3 quarters 43-10, winning by a final score of 57-17. They will be looking forward to a bounce-back win when Shippensburg comes to town. Men's soccer also had a rough week, losing their 2 matchups against Westchester 2-1 and Bloomsburg 3-0. These men will be returning to Millersville to face Shepherd and Mercy. On the other hand, women's soccer had a good week, winning 2 of their 3 games this week, beating Shippensburg 3-0 and number 21 ranked East Stroudsburg 2-1, with Aubrey Strohecker scoring a goal in both of those games. But the good luck wouldn't last going into their next game, losing against the number 25 ranked Shepherd Golden Rams 2-1 in golf. Senior Charlie Kirby, following back-to-back top 10 finishes, earned her first PSAC Women's Golf Athlete of the Week, while the men, led by 4th place finishes from Eric Miller and Timothy Peters, secured a 2nd place finish at the Howard Bud Ewall Invitational in field hockey. Caitlin Wasserman earned a PSAC Defensive Athlete of the Week honors, holding Marauder opponents to 2 goals over the last 3 games. Millersville grabbed wins against Slippery Rock and Maryville, but took a late loss against East Stroudsburg. Now, let's send it back over to Max and the crew to talk about this week's upsets in college football world. Max?
Thanks, Payje. Tearing up the projections and tearing down goalposts were the headlines of this past week in the NCAA, as 6 top 25 teams lost to the conference foes, with 5 of those teams losing to the unranked opponents, with headlines like Tennessee losing to the Razorbacks, Louisville losing at home against SMU, and the biggest shock of number 1 of overall, Alabama giving up 40 points to the Vanderbilt Commodores. Ashton, what were some of your favorite moments from this past week?
From this past week, well, obviously I'm a Clemson fan, and I'm happy they're on the board up there. I think they're at number 10. I'm not really sure what number they are at, but Clemson. But yeah, that big Alabama loss is pretty upsetting.
I mean, it's definitely a shock to the college football world, considering the reputation Alabama holds.
I think Alabama needs to play better, and if they want to go back, which I to the all the way to the finals, I think they should just win a couple more games, and they should probably make it.
Interesting. Gehrig, how do you feel about all these upsettings within the rankings so far?
The upsets are definitely crazy. That's what makes college football my favorite sport all time. Maybe below baseball, but college football is definitely great because of these upsets, because how great the fans are. See the field, rushing the field right now, just the passion that comes out of college football is amazing. But what a lot of people aren't talking about is Indiana. No one's talking about Indiana. Indiana's off to their first 6-0 start since 1967.
Wow.
Put some love on the Hoosiers.
Wow.
It's good for them.
No, definitely. We got a lot of underrated opponents kind of moving up within the rankings, especially after seeing what happened to Alabama. Now looking ahead, we have a packed schedule for college football fans worldwide with the Red River rivalry in Oklahoma. Penn State looking to protect their number 4 spot rank against the UCS. Number 13 LSU looking for revenge against the 9 Ole Miss. And the big one, the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes going on the road against the number 3 Oregon Ducks. Gehrig, which game are you the most excited for, as we have a packed lineup? And which one will you be the first one to see watch?
Most excited for definitely number 2, number 3 Ohio State, Oregon on College Game Day in Eugene. It's going to be an amazing game. This has national championship implications written all over it. If you're doing nothing else, watch that game. It's going to be great. And upset, I don't know if it's really an upset, but it's a numerical upset. I got Ole Miss going on the road against LSU. Ole Miss has just not looked great against SEC opponents. They really can't get the offense rolling against those vaunted defenses. And you go into Death Valley, you better be ready. And I don't think the Rebels are ready.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be an interesting week. Ashton, do you think there's going to be any big particular upset that you're looking forward to, or at least a game that you're excited at seeing?
I'm pretty much excited about the Penn State game. I'm not a Penn State fan, but I think Penn State might win, which I think they're playing Oregon, which it's going to be a pretty big upset in my opinion. But I really want them to lose. I'm not a Penn State fan. I'm sorry for the fans out there and Zach, but I'm just not a Penn State fan.
I mean, Zach's not really going to take that one too lightly, if I'm being honest. But with taking stuff lightly, this past Tuesday was the opening night for the NHL with the three-game headliner, including the first game in the franchise history for the new Utah Hockey Club. The night began with a matchup between the St. Louis Blues and the Seattle Kraken, with the Blues down 2-0, which would score 3 unanswered silence in the Seattle crowd. The Florida Panthers won 6-4 against the Bruins, and the Utah Hockey Club made history when assistant coach Jessica Campbell helped lead them to their first win in the franchise history, as she became the first full-time female assistant coach in NHL history. Ashton, what did these 3 games tell you about the winners and the losers?
Well, Honestly, I'm actually pretty sad about the Kraken. Seattle, I think they have what it takes to make it to the Stanley Cup. Because I think they're like one of the best teams right now in NHL, in my opinion. But I'm a Penguins fan, which I don't know how well they're doing right now. Same with the Flyers. Listen to all the Flyers fans. Flyers are just not going to make it. But definitely, big upset will be with Seattle.
Interesting take. So, Gehrig, based on these 3 past games alone, what do you think is going to be the most important thing coming out of it?
Well, that is a scorching hot take, Ashton. I do love the Kraken myself, but from each of these 3 winners from yesterday, the Blues, they can go into Seattle. Seattle is rocking. They love the Kraken there, and they can silence the home crowd, come back from 2-0 down. That shows a very resilient team. From Florida, you always talk about the cup hangover. They're playing the Boston Bruins at home, still a very dangerous team.
Yeah.
Florida is still a very good team. I don't know if they're going to have that cup hangover. And Utah, they got hockey fever. It's the first game ever in Utah. The fans are into it. It's going to be a crazy environment to go into. And I'm very excited to see how this goes for them this season.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. It's looking up to shape up to be an interesting season, especially with Utah finally entering the game, since they really haven't had anything like this before in their history, especially making history with the first female assistant head coach. And it's just interesting to see history fold right in. It's interesting to see history fold right between your eyes. That'll do it for this episode of In the Zone from Gehrig, Milbrandt, Ashton Lagos, and Payje Davis, and the entire crew of In the Zone. I'm your host, Max Vigue from Wicht Studio. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time right here on In the Zone.